welcome you all for this session. Today, let us discuss about scheduled caste and casteless society. Caste system had its origin in ancient India as Varnashram Dharma, which had 4 divisions, namely Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. It was transformed by various ruling elites in medieval, early modern and modern India, especially during the different rules like Mughals and British. The caste system as it exists today is thought to be the result of the various developments that occurred during the collapse of the Mughal Empire and the colonial rule in India. During this period, the powerful men who associated themselves with kings, priests and ascetic persons, affirming a rigid and martial form of caste ideal, reshaped many apparently casteless social groups into differentiated caste communities. Incredibly, the 4 Varnas had taken the form of around 3000 castes and 25,000 subcastes, each relating to a specific occupation. As mentioned in Varnashrama, the occupation was not restricted by birth, as exogamy, that is marrying with outside community, was prevalent, but later some castes began to practice endogamy, marrying within local community, and confined themselves to conservative living. After India became independent in 1947, the constitution was framed. While framing the constitution of India, the experts, the social reformers like Sri Mahatma Gandhiji, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, viewed and opined that certain privileges should be accorded to the downtrodden or disconsolate caste people, and accordingly incorporated those privileges in the constitution. Hence, in keeping with the aforesaid, the Government of India and other state governments have enacted legislations to ameliorate and to redress the grievances of the untouchables. Apropos the policy decision, they chose the name scheduled caste so as to denote the caste which required immediate upliftment in terms of moral, social, spiritual aspects, since these people were designated as among the most disadvantaged socio-economic group in India. The castes were scheduled and designated for certain privileges. Independent India's new constitution in 1950 outlawed the caste discrimination and announced quotas, that is, the government imposed mandatory allocation or limit in government jobs and educational institutions for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. The Constitution of India prescribes protection and safeguards for the scheduled castes and even for other backward classes, with the objective of removing their social disabilities or handicaps and promoting their varied interests. The main safeguards are abolition of untouchability, discrimination, humiliation, exclusion and exploitation, while at the same time affording protection from social injustice, thus throwing open for all various institutions, as also importantly religious institutions and the like, in order to ensure a dignified living in the society. The Constitution does not define or categorically specify the castes which are to be called as scheduled castes. However, it leaves the discretion and power to the President to specify as to what castes in each state or union territory ought to be treated as scheduled castes. A separate article numbered as 341 was included in the Constitution. This article empowers the President of India to notify a caste or race or tribe as scheduled after due consultation with the governor of the state concerned in this regard. Thus, the list of scheduled castes varies from state to state as for the names and nomenclature are concerned. Conjointly, the second clause of this article empowers the Parliament to pass a law either to include or exclude from the list any caste, race, tribe thus notified by the President of India. According to 1951 census, the untouchables who were enumerated under scheduled castes were 16.9% of the Hindu population. The Government of India has implemented the pledge made in the Constitution through its legislative, administrative and executive means to redress the grievances of the scheduled castes. Notwithstanding that, the 4 Varnas formed the Hindu society with its inherent characteristics or disadvantages, but in addition comprise the subcastes under each Varnas, which ipso facto added miseries of the depressed or downtrodden classes. There were 3 suggestions put forth in proposed to modify the caste society. The first one advocated the restoration of the original 4 Varnas by accommodating the low caste people into suitable or respective varna. The chief exponent of this viewpoint was Sri Mahatma Gandhi, but he did not sufficiently elucidate the modus operandi to reinstate or implement the fourfold orders. The criticism of the suggestion was that the return to the original order would not necessarily eradicate untouchability, but would axiomatically result in a group struggle and consequent communal rights. Moreover, the Varna people would obstinately resist such inclusion, since birth basically determined the caste of a person. Even it would not be possible to accommodate the untouchables in the Shudra Varna, as this will lead to serious consequences with regard to employment, occupation, marriage and other associated social practices. The second suggestion to amalgamate the various subcastes of the present day caste that have these economic and cultural similarities into appropriate varnas to make a casteless society. But this could not be accepted by the other varna or caste, as their internal feeling or perception of their caste remained deeply rooted in the minds of the people and would invariably lead to dangerous consequences. The third suggestion was to degrade socially some of the aspects of the caste and declare such aspects as anti-national. But this would not have been practical or possible, as the Hindu social structure is fundamentally based on this very caste system. Any declaration of caste system as anti-national would resolutely dissolve the whole society itself. Let us see the salient aspects of the problems faced by the scheduled castes. Firstly, the social economic exploitation by upper caste and exclusion, landlessness and poverty, as their land is usurped by the upper caste, manual daily low wage earners and subjected to the conditions of bonded laborers, treated with contempt, hatred, discrimination and humiliation, devoid of their fundamental rights to vote, poor health conditions, literacy and lack of general awareness, debt trap due to heavy loans with high interest rates availed on account of poverty and deprivation, denied educational and other opportunities, subjected to the practice of untouchability. Now, let us see the salient aspects of the measures taken by the government towards upliftment of scheduled castes. Abolition of untouchability, protection from social injustice and various forms of exploitation, throwing open to them religious institutions of public character, removal of restrictions on their access to wells, tanks, shops, restaurants and roads, etc., giving them the right to move freely and acquire property, giving them the right of admission to the educational institution and receiving grants out of the state funds, permitting the state governments to make reservations for them in services, giving them special representation in the Lok Sabha and the Vidhan Sabha, setting up separate departments and advisory councils to promote their welfare and safeguard their interests, prohibiting forced labor, making special provisions for the administration and control of the scheduled areas. The very first article of our constitution guarantees the citizens justice, liberty and equality and to promote fraternity. The justice includes not only political and economic, but also social equality, including the opportunity as well as status. Article 38 states, the state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting as effectively as it may a social order in which justice, social, economic and political shall inform all the institutions of the national life. Article 15 of the Constitution forbids discrimination against a citizen by saying the state shall not discriminate on grounds only of religion, race, sex, place of birth or any of them. Secondly, no citizen shall on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth or any of them by subject to any disability, liability, restriction or condition with regard to access to shops, public restaurants, hotels, places of public entertainment or the wells, bathing ghats, roads and public resorts maintained wholly or partially out of the state funds or dedicated to the use of the general public. Article 16 of the Constitution clearly states that there should be equality and opportunity with regard to employment. It states there shall be equality and opportunity for all citizens in matters relating to employment or appointment to any office under the state. No citizen shall be ineligible or discriminated on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, descent, place of birth, residence in any employment of office under the state. Now, let us see the constitutional safeguards of scheduled castes. The safeguards are in the field of social, economic, educational, cultural and services. In social front, Article 17 abolishes untouchability. Article 23 prohibits human trafficking and abolishes bonded labor. Article 24 bans children below 14 from employment. Article 25 opens Hindu religious institutions for all castes. In economic front, Article 46, in addition to Article 23 and 24 as above, it ensures protection from social injustice and promotes economic interests. Regular educational aspects. Article 15 contains provisions for advancement in socially and educationally backward class, as also enables reservations of seats in educational institutions and professional courses. In political front, Article 243D provides reserved seats in local government, that is Panchayat. Article 243T provides reserved seats in municipality. Article 330 provides reserved seats in Lok Sabha, that is House of People. Article 332 provides reserved seats in State Legislative Assembly. On regular services, Article 16(4) and 335 allot seniority to SCs higher to that of persons promoted from general category on merit. Let us see the regular miscellaneous aspects. Seats are reserved for them in the Lok Sabha and the State Legislative Assembly on the basis of population. The claims of scheduled castes are taken into consideration while making appointments to the public services at the center and the state. National Commission is set up by the President to investigate all matters relating to the constitutional safeguards for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes and report to him. Such reports are mandatorily placed before the Parliament. The state is permitted to make any special provisions for the advancement of the scheduled castes. The state is directed to promote with special care the educational and economic interests of the scheduled castes and protect them from injustice of all forms. Now, let us see the measures taken by the state to curb crime against scheduled castes. Gearing up machinery for appraising the government of disputes of land, wages, etc. concerning the scheduled castes, helping scheduled castes in getting possession of lands belonging to them or allotted to them, specially instructing police authorities to intervene in instances of criminal trespass into lands belonging to scheduled castes. The police are instructed to treat cases of crime scheduled castes as special report cases and arrange for quick trial and prosecution, helping agricultural laborers in getting statutory minimum wages, setting up special courts for ensuring quick disposal of cases pertaining to scheduled castes, instructing officers to spend a part of their time when on a tour in residential areas of scheduled castes, setting up special scheduled caste cells under DIG police to ensure that crimes against SCs are properly registered, promptly investigated and expeditiously prosecuted, setting up state level committees under the chairmanship of the chief minister to look after various aspects concerning welfare of scheduled castes. There are welfare schemes for the scheduled castes like special central assistance for rapid social economic development among scheduled castes who are living below the poverty line. There are also income generating schemes through 4 special financial institutions, namely National Scheduled Caste Finance and Development Corporation, National Safai Karmachari Finance and Development and Finance Corporation, National Backward Classes Finance and Development and Finance Corporation, National Minorities Development and Finance Corporation, and there is also a scheme of construction of hostels to enable and encourage students belonging to scheduled castes to attain quality education. The objective is to provide residential accommodation facilities for scheduled castes, higher secondary, college and universities. Efforts are also being taken to control the school dropouts rates and improve enrollment and retention through provision of incentives, scholarships, hostel facilities and other educational aids and support to all the students irrespective of age, and there is a central scheme, namely Rajiv Gandhi National Fellowship for Higher Education. Importantly, there is a National Commission for Scheduled Castes for providing adequate safeguards for them, and there is also Prevention of Atrocities Act and the Protection of Civil Rights Act, which are instruments to prevent and curb social discrimination and atrocities committed against scheduled castes. The aim of the Government of India is granting special privileges to the scheduled castes was to make the Hindu society a casteless society in which no discrimination is possible. The constitutional administration and executive steps are to uplift these depressed people on par with other high caste people in the society, which will lead to a casteless society. There have been genuine efforts from the side of the government to eradicate the untouchability, but the feeling in the high caste people have not changed much. Nevertheless, the education and upliftment has given courage to the minds of the depressed people to face the high caste people in education and position. The political parties in the country have taken undue advantage of these depressed or downtrodden people. Instead of working for their rights, they began to exploit them. They began to field the candidates of a particular caste in a constituency in which these caste people are in large numbers. The caste pockets are identified, and some political parties surreptitiously tie up with one another in choosing candidates. Instead of removing the caste discrimination in the society, this evil of caste distinction has come to stay very strongly. Though the aim and effort made by the political leaders and the government have been to form a casteless society, unfortunately, these were misdirected to a plural society only. The formation of caste societies, convening of caste conferences, and starting of caste journals have further weakened the efforts of the government. These caste journals, periodicals, etc., whip up communal feelings in the minds of their caste groups and urge them or indoctrinate them for caste solidarity and selfishly fight for the rights of their own caste and kindle the fire of communalism in the minds of the caste groups. The caste groups have formed trusts in their caste name to help the poor caste people monetarily and in kind. They have built marriage halls and allow the marriages of their caste. The trust offers scholarships to the poor students of their caste, build free hostels, maternity homes for their caste women, thus arbitrarily running an almost parallel government or a welfare state with a vicious mind. This resulted in the consolidation of the members of the caste, which spread very easily to other caste groups. In a way, the efforts which were directed to form a casteless society have been wrongly directed, and the Hindu society has become a plural society consisting of different caste groups instead of a single society without any caste. The sociologists K. M. Kabadia and Vilas A. Sangwe made researchers in the community development of caste, and the revelations are the caste groups began to organize separate associations to imbibe caste sentiments in the minds of their own group. The original caste panchayat have been renewed in the new name of managing trust or association, and panchayat elections are being held regularly to these bodies. The caste rules have been made clear and stringent by framing constitution for the trust and association or panchayat. The students' hostels set up by the trust have become the venue for caste activities. The meetings have been held quite often to take decisions on various caste matters. Thus, a link has been made between the old generation and the younger generation. The occupational caste groups have established cooperative credit societies and industrial societies to encourage and aid the members of their caste. The caste groups went to the extent of building housing colonies to the members of their group so as to have close proximity. The trust which build colonies advertise in the dailies as if they are open to all, but preferences being given to their own community people. The Brahmins were once the priests for all twice born castes, but now the caste groups have their own priests. The caste groups which want to exploit and privilege offered by the government approach the government to declare their caste as a backward community or class through their association. They approach the political parties for recognition as backward class, and through them they get their caste finally listed in backward classes. The caste members gather together several times a year in the guise of meeting or celebrations. They amalgamate all the association of the states into a federation and conduct social gatherings at the end of the year, thus forming an established link at the all India level. These caste bodies collect money from the members as donation or fees and utilize it for their caste members. Thus, the caste groups take steps methodically, first to organize themselves and second to fight for their rights with the government. While the government is trying to achieve a casteless society, the caste groups segregate themselves to form their own bodies so as to get special privileges extended by the government to the scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and backward classes with an ulterior motive agenda of strengthening their own caste groups. The caste discrimination is outlawed, but oppression still persists in some form or other. The casteless society has become an utopian idea instead of plural society has become the fact or reality on the ground. In order to attain a successful fruition, the central and state government in conjunction with the social reformers should work hand in glove to find a new path to social reformation in a perspicacious and amicable manner which would advance and ultimately establish a casteless society imbibing true nationalism. Thank you.